Welcome back to the Project Censored Show on Pacifica Radio. I'm your host, Mickey Huff, with Eleanor Goldfield. We're going to conclude this week's special program on Banned Books Week by speaking with the executive director of the National Coalition Against Censorship. Project Censored has been a member of the National Coalition Against Censorship for some time, as well as a member of the Banned Books Week Coalition. It's good to have cohorts of people that care about the same things and really advocate for the right to read and First Amendment issues, as they do impact everyone. Lee Rowland has served for over a decade as a lawyer for the American Civil Liberties Union, the Brennan Center for Justice, and the New York Civil Liberties Union. Lee has extensive experience as a litigator, lobbyist, and public speaker. She has served as lead counsel in federal First Amendment cases involving public employee search rights, the First Amendment rights of community advocates, government regulation of digital speech, and state secrecy surrounding the lethal injection process. She is also a prolific author of amicus briefs and blogs where she provides insights, analysis of issues such as speech and privacy intersection, student and public employee speech, obscenity, and the Communications Decency Act. She also has represented several NCAC partner organizations. Rowland has taught at New York University School of Law and the Hunter College Human Rights Program. She is a Communications and Media Law Committee member at the New York Bar Association, and a graduate of Middlebury College and Harvard Law School. Lee Rowland, welcome to the Project Censored Show.
Hi, Mickey. It is, of course, a delight to be here. And man, do we need a Banned Books Week more than ever this year. So I'm glad you're doing your special feature. Thank you.
Every year we have to do this. And as I say, every year we need Banned Books Week every week. And I know that's certainly the ethos that you all have at NCAC and BBW. Indeed. And we're right with you here at Project Censored. Earlier on the show, I got to speak with the Youth Honorary Chair, Iris Mogul. We just talked to the incoming president of the ALA, Sam Helnick. And now here we are talking to you, Lee Rowland. Really quickly, could you please remind our listeners, before we dive into Banned Books Week and all the amazing things your organization is doing, tell other people why they should know about NCAC.
The National Coalition Against Censorship is and should be your intellectual home for people who care about having the right to decide what we see, what we read, what we think, what we hear. We're a 50-year-old organization, and we're a coalition. And that's actually thematic with what I hope we chat about a little today, which is in moments of particularly government pressure, censorship, propaganda, there's strength in numbers. And the National Coalition Against Censorship represents over 60 national nonprofits that come together to say free expression matters to us. And so we're really the standard bearer for free expression. And we're not primarily a legal organization. We do direct defense of people experiencing censorship in their communities, getting their backs one-on-one by bringing other folks that we work with and our allies to bear on, and to bring attention to censorship issues. And we organize folks, like a coalition should. So you mentioned, for example, the fabulous Iris Mogul. Iris actually came through one of our programs called Student Advocates for Speech, which I would like to think is helping build the next generation of free speech defenders that's going to keep liberty alive for you and me when we kind of help, hand the torch off to the next generation of folks who's going to protect our free speech. And you mentioned Sam at the ALA, the American Library Association, much like Project Censored, is a part of the National Coalition. And I say all that not just to brag, although I'm really proud of our important work and everybody should come be a friend and member of the National Coalition Against Censorship, but also because we're in a really perilous and unique time for free expression. And I suspect your listeners know this, but many of the government acts and policies we're seeing right now are frankly unconstitutional, and we all know it. For many decades, the Supreme Court has said the government has no right under the First Amendment to ban a book just because it disagrees with what that book says, right? With the viewpoint of the author or what ideas that book is grappling with. And despite that, we have seen over the past few years attempt after attempt after attempt to pass state law, now under the second Trump administration, to pass executive orders that do precisely that basically purge disfavored viewpoints from government-run libraries, in school, public libraries, you name it. And the result of that is fear and confusion, and often, unfortunately, self-censorship, even if those laws are challenged in court and get struck down by the First Amendment. And I say all that because, number one, the law isn't enough to save us. I'm a long-term trained litigator. I love the First Amendment. I'm addicted to the First Amendment. Almost every case I've ever filed has been a First Amendment case. But there is this slippage between when a law gets passed, right, and gets challenged and hopefully struck down if it's one of these unconstitutional book banning laws. And in that space, we have fear. Librarians are worried they'll lose their license, right, if they stock a particular book. Teachers don't know what they can teach without being in danger of losing their licenses. And that fear and self-censorship is real. And so the best defense we have against that is community, is joining our voices together, especially when self-censorship flows from fear. We must be investing in collective and public demonstrations of courage and our values. And so I think Banned Books Week is sometimes, I think, almost a quaint celebration, right, has been in years past of the literature we love, and almost a giving thanks of our free expression that allows us to pick what we read and share with other people. This year, it feels like a much more vital part of the defense of our democracy itself. So that's who the National Coalition Against Censorship is, and it's how we approach our work, and especially in this moment, feels like exactly what we need, which is to come together, find opportunities to connect at our local community level, find an independent bookstore, visit your independent bookseller, make friends with librarians, with teachers, with freedom to read advocates, and become the glue of civil society that we're going to need to withstand this moment of autocracy.
Absolutely. So well put, and so many points of agreement. I'm especially, I'm really happy about the youth programs that you have. And I actually met Iris at one of the SAS talks, right?
Fantastic.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, amazing.
You're always one of our most popular guest speakers, as I hope you know.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's
For
always a pleasure to be there and to come and meet, particularly meet young people that are doing this. As you said, we have to be handing the torch off to the younger generation, and they're on the front lines of these things in schools, particularly the K-12 students. The reason we know that some of the things happen there is because the students speak out, right? Because we've had the Cameron Samuels and we've had the Datavion Daniels,
Yes.
right? And Julie Garnett from last year, and now we have Iris Mogul. And again, there's
That's
many,
right.
many other students out there that help us understand what's happening, and they seek solidarity, right? I mean, they may seek our
Absolutely.
support. I mean, in many cases, I mean, they're spearheading it. They don't need us to tell them what to do.
Absolutely.
Right?
And that's what I want to be clear. We don't create, new geniuses or free expression advocates. We help basically give them resources and give them a community. And that is a lot of what we hear from so many of the young people who participate in our student advocates for speech is they really kind of feel alone as a defender of the freedom to read or someone who celebrates literature. There are so many students who aren't in a community or a culture where that's encouraged. And so someone like you mentioned Datavion, one of our earliest kind of student advocate for speech graduates. Datavion grew up in a district with no public library, period. Right. And so he was the one who had to kind of forge a path and assert his right to find reading and literature to enhance his own education, both formally and as he grew up and to an adult. And so joining a program like Student Advocates for Speech enabled Datavion not only to connect with other incredible young people who care about free expression, but to be a leader among them. I mean, he's gone on to help found, his own nonprofit alongside Cameron. And they are advocates, they are superstars, and they give me hope, man. When I have a rough day and I read the paper and I'm like, my job is to believe that our democracy is going to survive and that free expression is going to be the backbone, in our free society. But there are days when I flag, there's a lot of tough news out there from a free speech point of view. But when I see younger people who get it on a gut level. This is a core human right. I have a right, to learn and read and process without the government picking and choosing what is wrong think, and fighting for that right. I'm like, we're going to be okay. I think we're going to stay on the rails.
Yeah, it's so important in the work. And again, every year since 1982, we've had Banned Books Week. But I mean, it seems increasingly important. The 5-year trend has not been pretty for free expression.
No.
The coming of the second Trump administration has brought more concerns and fears, of course. And I know we've been talking about fear and chilling effect and censorship, and it just reminds me, Laurie Halse Anderson, one of the great quotes is, "Censorship is the child of fear and the father of ignorance and the desperate weapon of fascists everywhere." And it just seems to be, there's so much of that in the air, so to speak, right now. And you mentioned executive orders and some other things. There's another thing that you're doing at NCAC that I know you wanted to talk about, the Right to Read Night, in the couple minutes we have left here. Do you want to share with us
I
some more
do.
information about something people can do, right? It's not just like
Yes.
recognizing it's happening, but what can you do to get involved, Lee
So
Rowland?
it's amazing that you mentioned Laurie Halse Anderson. It's the perfect segue to talk about something that NCAC is spearheading during Banned Books Week this year for the first time, which is the Right to Read Night. We in addition to our youth programming, we also have a Right to Read network that is a network and a bat signal for community groups that are fighting for the right to read, experiencing educational censorship, and fighting for that at the local or the state level, to connect with each other, get resources from each other and from us, and be amazing advocates. And through that network, we set up the Right to Read Night, which is what it sounds like. It's a kind of hyper-local community-based event where local right to read advocates are each themselves satellite advocates for a community right to read night. And that will be basically a community gathering at a bookstore or library, independent bookseller, where fans of the right to read will get together and do a deep dive conversation about the book Chains by Laurie Halse Anderson, none other. And it is, unfortunately and very distressingly, a frequently censored book because of its kind of moving and truthful talk about slavery, and the reality of race in America's past. Exactly the kind of thing that this administration has targeted with executive orders for, frankly, telling the stories they don't want people to hear, right? And so Right to Read Night will not just be a community gathering where literature lovers and people who care about free expression get to join in community and have a night together, although that in itself sounds pretty great right now, and everybody should go and attend one. But also, the discussions will help grapple with the reality of censorship in this moment, what banning a book like Chains means for our communities and the diversity of our reading material, and help people express and discuss the value of that kind of book to them, which makes them advocates for that book as well. So, for example, going to a school board meeting to oppose a list of banned books that might include Chains or a book like it, we want people to have a sense of community and also a little sense of power, that their love of literature can also translate into kind of publicly defending the diversity of literature by talking about the value that these books have to you, to each individual. So Right to Read Night, we have a feature on our website at ncac.org. You can find the closest Right to Read Night to you. I hope everybody can make it, but if you can't, you can always reach out to us to be a part of our broader Right to Read network. And in their own right, everybody should be going out, finding an independent bookstore, using the resources at your local library. We're in a moment in time, I think, that is a bit of a struggle over the heart of our civic and cultural lives themselves. And part of the way that we push back is in communion. We share those values. We stand up to the censors and say, we're not afraid. We have values and we will stick to them, including free expression. And to create those connections with an independent bookseller, a library, and support those institutions that are actually at the heart, not just of our micro communities, but of our ability to be free and have a vital and diverse democracy. So this is Banned Books Week is all about principle. The Right to Read Night is all about applying that in your local community, finding like-minded folks, advocating for diverse literature, and ideally having a lovely moment in community, which I think everyone could use right now.
Absolutely. Could not agree more. Lee Rowland, Executive Director of the National Coalition Against Censorship. You can learn more at ncac.org. You can also learn more about the Right to Read Night at righttoreadnight.com, the website, and you can learn how to participate. Also, we at Project Censored and the Censored Press have a bookshop.org page where we are advocating for, I guess it's sounds odd to say, but some of our favorite banned books, right? So no better time to read banned books and to spread the word than now, celebrating Banned Books Week, October 5th to 11th. You can learn more, of course, also at the bannedbooksweek.org website for the Banned Books Week Coalition. Lee Rowland, as ever, thank you for joining us on the program. And I have a feeling that you and I will be in contact much more regularly as we move through these strange times.
I hope so.
Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Mickey.